Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Tyler, and today I am bringing you guys a what if versus match, and this match will be Jotaro and Dio versus Deku and Bakugo. Now before all of you just start raging and spurging in the comment section how this is a one-sided stomp and a massacre and I'm just a dumbass, well, it's cool. I just want to do this matchup. It seems kind of cool in its premise. Just leave me alone, bro. Like, stop being fat. Now with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's just get right into this video.
Hey, collecting rings like a Sonic. Bitches wanna party. My wrist getting heavy. Got 'em on a diet, yeah. Flex like I'm Hogan. Yo, bitch coming over. We respect.
Now to start off, we will dive into Deku and Bakugo since their scaling is a little bit easier to get into and they are a lot less hacksy than JoJo characters. Now for Deku and Bakugo, along with I guess Jotaro and Dio since this also does apply to them, I'm going to be scaling them pretty much at the same time, not just like a one-off, we'll start off with Deku, then we'll start off with Bakugo. We will be going over both characters in one category because their scaling kind of correlates with each other and they don't have too much to really offer to be in a separate category anyway. And for this video, I will be going over who wins in a fight, and the calcs are going to be in this video, because I know sometimes you guys just watch my what if videos for just story based, but again, it's a what if versus match, so it's going to be going over who beats who rather than a story. And again, I know some people are not fans of calculations, but I do think they're kind of viable in scaling these characters, especially something like in Crossverse, so we're going to be using them, and if you don't like it, boohoo, cry me a river, I don't care. Now let's start off with the scaling. Now Deku and Bakugo do have multiple calcs that help these two scale pretty easily with one another, since one of these calcs are coming from 20% Deku and this comes from the movie, and he's able to cause a tornado with his St. Louis smash, which required 48.22 tons of TNT, which is well over enough to level a city block. Bakugo would directly scale to this due to him fighting 9 and working side by side with Deku, and Bakugo from the movie should scale to 20% Deku. Deku and Bakugo here should at least be in the same tier. Whether or not you want to argue that Deku's stronger or Bakugo stronger, it doesn't really matter. They should at least be relative. Now this is just a lightweight way to scale these two, and they actually scale much higher, which I will be getting into right now. And basically in this same movie where Deku performs this city block level feat, Deku and Bakugo work side by side and they managed to clear 9 storm, which required 1,243.37 megatons of TNT, which should be in the mountain level ranges of attack potency. Now you guys can argue that Bakugo wouldn't scale to this due to him having one for all, and you're probably thinking that Deku wouldn't scale to this as well since he needed Bakugo's help to disperse the storm. However, even if we take Bakugo out, Deku would still be able to pull out 621.68 megatons of TNT, which is still mountain level. If you want to look more into that, I advise you to look in the description where I'll have links there so it can help you understand it better. Now to scale Bakugo higher, since he wouldn't have one for all in this battle, we can just simply divide the 621.68 by 5 to get that number of how much hypothetically 20% Deku would be able to pull out, which would still be mountain level. Since 621.68 divided by 5 would be 124.336 megatons of TNT, which again is still mountain level. Not as much as 100% Deku, but it's still in that range. Essentially, the scaling would go 20% Deku and Bakugo are relative, with 100% Deku and Bakugo being above that. Now, I've seen a few more calcs on this, but I would rather just go with this since I do believe it's the safest, but you guys could argue it's higher. There's one calc that puts them in the higher level of the mountain range, like large mountain plus. And another one I've seen is Deku and Bakugo clearing the storm would be like island level or something, but we will say for the sake of the video they are in the mountain level range. And we will also say for the durability that since they're able to basically withstand the amount of force they're putting out, this would scale their durability directly to their AP. So their durability would also be in the mountain range. Again, I know some of you could be confused with this, but if you guys don't know the terminology I'm going by, you guys can just check the links in the description. It can help you understand it more. Now for the speed scaling, it gets pretty straightforward here. You should have a little bit of an idea where I'm going with this if you have seen my All Might vs Saitama video, link below, but if you haven't, then I'll just lay it out here. Essentially, you just say how Aoyama's laser is indeed an actual laser, which is consistent since it's been described as light before, and people like Mirio react to this laser at high-end FTL to low-end FTL plus or faster than light. Deku in his 20% form would scale to this since he would scale to Overhaul through Feats, who does react to Mirio. So this basically means that Overhaul would scale to the FTL calc that Mirio scales to and Deku would scale to that. So Deku's speed should be at that faster than light range, and Bakugo would scale to this since both characters have similar feats against 9. So both characters should be FTL and mountain level, and as for hacks, Bakugo just has variated explosive attacks and Deku has pressured air as long range attacks, or essentially air bullets and black whips he managed to learn to control. And another ability is having the ability to bend fate, which is pretty consistent throughout the manga, and he was supposed to lose to Overhaul and the odds were stacked against him, but he managed to change fate and actually beat him. That should also give you an idea that his fate manipulation should only apply to people who scale to him like Overhaul. So basically what I'm saying is, if Jotaro and Dio have a way to basically one-shot Deku, he's not going to use his fate manipulation to try and bend fate and basically make him win or something like that. We haven't seen his fate manipulation do something like that. So unless Jotaro and Dio are relative to Deku and Bakugo, I don't see the fate manipulation kind of being applied here. But if they are relative, Deku could definitely use this and this could be a win con. But yeah, that wraps up the Deku and Bakugo section, and we can now move on to Jotaro and Dio. Now Jotaro and Dio scaling is pretty straightforward since these two scale directly to each other, and we will first start off with AP/durability, and we can say how Enyaiba was able to make a town with her fog, and how Jotaro was able to swallow Justice, her stand, and withstand the fog, which means that his durability would at least be town level. People like Anubis Polnareff are able to pierce this Jotaro and force him to go all out, and this Jotaro defeats Anubis Polnareff. Notice how Enyaiba's fog doesn't pierce Jotaro's body and Jotaro is able to withstand it no difficulty, while Anubis Polnareff is able to wound Jotaro and actually give him a run for his money, which means Anubis Polnareff's AP would be town level, and since Jotaro has the AP to bring him down, he would also be town level. Dio would directly scale to this since again he and Jotaro scrap and Dio even harms Jotaro and Jotaro even harms him, so this would allow both of these stand users to at least exert at least 5.8 kilotons of TNT. Now moving on to speed, which is pretty simple here since people like Polnareff can react to the sun stand, which is calced at MFTL plus speeds or over 1000 times the speed of light, along with Polnareff also reacting to Hanged Man by perceiving the light, jumping up and performing an attack action to cut the light. Both feats are calced at MFTL plus or over 1000 times the speed of light, and if you guys want more information on those calcs, they will both be linked down in the description along with the other calculations I mentioned previously. Jotaro would scale to these speeds since Anubis Polnareff, someone who would scale above regular Polnareff, is able to keep up with Jotaro, or Jotaro is able to keep up with him briefly. And even in the end, Jotaro managed to defeat him. So Jotaro would scale to an Anubis Polnareff, which would be above regular Polnareff, which performs these MFTL plus feats, which means Jotaro would at least have that kind of speed, and Dio would scale to this since him and Jotaro scale to each other. Again, it doesn't really matter whether or not you say Jotaro is stronger than Dio or not, or faster than Dio or not, they should at least be in the same kind of speed range, since Dio does kind of beat up Jotaro at the beginning of the fight. But again, regardless, both characters should be MFTL plus and town level since they scale to each other. Now as for hacks, both have time stop, and Dio specifically has fear hacks, regeneration, and better time stop than Jotaro since Jotaro would only have time stop for 5 seconds in his prime, while Dio at his strongest could do it for 11. For this fight, we will be using the prime Jotaro that can stop time for 5 seconds and Dio who can stop for 11. Time stop stops the user from what they're doing and essentially gives them the opportunity to blindside the opponent, or in this case Deku and Bakugo, and this would give them a chance to one-shot their opponent since they can just one-shot them in the world and without even them noticing. So in the blink of an eye, Deku and Bakugo could be wiped out by Jotaro and Dio. Stands could also pass through solid objects, and if Dio and Jotaro can get a chance to, they could potentially crush their hearts. The only person I could see doing this specifically is probably Jotaro since he has shown the ability to go inside of people's chests with his stand to try and help. But I guess in this case he would not be helping, rather just crushing their heart. And with that being said, we can actually get into the actual battle, and beforehand let's actually put a little bit of some conditions. We'll say for the sake of the fight, Dio can walk in sunlight or we can make the setting night for the battle, doesn't really matter. And as for this fight, Deku can go into his full Calc 100% without it just killing him. And also stands can be seen by Deku and Bakugo. Don't get all mad, this actually doesn't really matter in this match and you'll see why. Because it's an actual massive stomp. But Tyler, who's the one getting stomped and who's the one doing the stomping? Well, we will get into that now. Now we know that Deku and Bakugo have the AP and durability advantage, but they would get completely blitzed by Jotaro and Dio. And again, we know that time stop kind of just gives the user the ability to turn the tides in a fight, and we know that time stop It's kind of just a free W for the stand users here, and especially for someone like Dio, who uses the world way more consistently than Jotaro does, which that isn't to say that Jotaro wouldn't use the world, but I do believe at the start of the fight, Jotaro and Dio would definitely understand that they're going to have to use all their powers in order to beat these two, especially if Deku and Bakugo decide to push themselves even further. And with that, I do think if Dio and Jotaro just use the world, or if they just use their stance to try and phase through them and crush their hearts, it's an easy win for Dio and Jotaro here. Honestly, you don't even need Jotaro here. Dio himself would just use the world and simply one-shot Deku and Bakugo before they even realize it, similar to how he did with Calc. And if you want to argue that Bakugo and Deku would notice how they're basically going to do something, so they would try and put their guard up in time, it wouldn't be as fast as Dio and Jotaro doing the action to use the world, since they have much higher speed. Let's say Deku uses 100%, and you know what, let's just say Bakugo too. Yeah, even if Deku and Bakugo use one for all and 100%, they would just get blitzed, their heart crushed, or just get time stopped, blindsided, and just get killed before realizing it. Again, it doesn't even have to be by Jotaro and Dio, it could just be Dio himself, and maybe Jotaro if he uses the world. But it's a lot more likely for Dio to use it, and I do think Dio would take on these two in a 2v1 and still come out on top. Again, Deku and Bakugo are much higher in the AP and durability department, but in terms of hacks, they just simply get overwhelmed, and the speed advantage that Jotaro and Dio have just overwhelms them as well. So yeah, the winners are Jotaro and Dio, low to mid diff, and if you guys have any other versus matches you guys want me to, do on the channel, let me know down below. Peace out, bye.